Hi, and welcome to another video. In this one, I'm going to talk about how I actually left the cult, as many of you wanted to hear the story, and it's quite a long story, so this video will be a little bit longer. Where to begin? Yeah, I thought I'm going to talk about what made me question them initially, and then I'll talk about who helped me, the resources that I used, how my family reacted to me leaving, and if I faced any negativity, and how the first days felt like after I left. And yeah, it's hard to it's hard to tell how I got to the point of leaving because it's it's a build up, you know, like you just accept certain things, and but there was one point where that I mentioned in the Q&A where it was one evening where I went to bed and I could not fall asleep. I no longer knew who I was. If I felt like I had become a blueprint person of the idea, that who they wanted me to be. I felt like I had no individuality because it wasn't allowed. Basically, when you questioned, like, no matter what you questioned, first of all they thought there's something wrong with you. And if you like, and they would tell you, no, you have to look at this from this point of view, and you would be shut down, like, instantly. This critical thinking was reserved for pastors who were, like, they after hours and days of reading the Bible, they came to the conclusion, yeah, something could maybe be wrong, but it's not up to you. You were supposed to follow, not to question. So all of that made it pretty difficult, to yeah, you had to accept everything they said. Now, I used to like heavy metal and rap music. Before I got to the got into the cult, and that was basically they took that away from me. It's I had to, like, it feels horrible when what you actually like deep in your heart, what you like it's considered evil, and you always think that who you are, what makes you an individual is evil, and you go to bed and thinking, why would God create me like this? Like, if he created me with the wrong desires, with the wrong taste in everything, why would he make me, like, go through all of this? And by the way, I'm this video could be a bit controversial. I'm not gonna talk anyone else out of their beliefs or religion. It's just something that, I experienced for myself. I am no longer a Christian. I consider myself an atheist. So if I say something like, I will talk about religion and God, what I think about the Bible, but I'm not gonna point fingers, at other people. Like, I don't care what you believe in, as long as you let me believe what I like to believe, or in this case, decide not to believe. All right, I digress. Coming back to you know, why this internal struggle that I felt. If I in I thought, your taste in music, movies, books, is like that played a big part in my life. What makes me who I am. And I had to look at it like it's evil. So basically, I was very depressed. I did not enjoy the gospel music I was supposed to listen to, or supposed to like, supposed to enjoy. I got into guitar playing, and every once in a while I would pick a tune, from Queen or something. Another one bites the dust, and as soon as I would play the bass line, people would approach me, "Oh, that's evil music. You cannot play that." And so they basically told me the kind of music I had to play on my guitar, and yeah, that made things even worse. So telling yourself to like something that you actually don't, like all of that, combined with the fact that I I started to question things. I felt horrible. So that night I decided to leave the assembly, or to draw out, make out a plan. And I had to, as I said, I had to find friends in secret outside of the assembly, because they wouldn't allow you to see people regularly that do not believe in God, or even people that are other Christians that are not in the assembly. You know what I mean? Um, it was almost considered adultery. Like, you were set in this church because God wants you in this particular church. Now, keep in mind, um, this is specific to the cult I was in. I know, I still don't understand. Like, I don't think that other confessions do that. Of course not. I mean, if you believe in God, you should, it shouldn't matter if you go, like, to, I don't know, if you are, I, you know, the bottom line is, you believe in God. It shouldn't matter where you go to Mormons or Catholics, Jehovah's Witnesses, or whatever. You, at the end, you believe in God. However, our church, my cult, like, they would not allow, even that are like very similar, like Pentecostal, Baptists. Um, you could consider them very close to our doctrine, and I would visit some of their meetings, because they had like a youth group or something, and I felt alone in that regard in my church. Like, where I was, there weren't many people around my age, so I wanted to talk to fellow Christians around my age. So I went to a different church on like Friday nights or something. And when my church found out about it, they were like, "What are you doing? Like, you cannot go there." I was like, "Come on, I'm just looking for other people around my age." But they would consider it kind of like adulterous. Like, I should rather meet up with people from my church. So now you have this problem where they take away your friends outside of the church. They take away your family. Like, you are not allowed to visit them. Um, so I knew that when you leave, you're gonna face, you will be shunned. No one will talk to you, and many people come back because of that. Because the pastors will say, "Yeah, we don't force you to stay in this assembly. You can go whenever you feel like it. You can go whenever you want." But it's not that easy. When you are left alone, you have no one to go to. Like, what are you gonna do? You will come back, and then they have you by the balls, because now they're like, "Okay, you come crawling back to us, like, beg for mercy, pray to God that He will forgive you for what you've done." And then you feel even more of a slave than you did before, because now you are just catering to everything they say, um, and you have to prove that you mean it this time. It feels so awkward. And I knew what was going to happen because I've seen it to other people, and it will be a very rough time. So in secret, I developed friends. A group of friends. We played, um, like I enjoy fantasy, and that was around the time I um, kind of didn't care anymore what the assembly said. So I watched Lord of the Rings, which is one of my favorite movies of all time, and didn't care anymore what the church would say. And it also got me into pen and paper games. And I was looking for a group I could play with, and I finally found one. And we met many times, played the game, and that kind of um, got me closer to them, and we became good friends. But I had to keep it secret. I made the mistake and invited one of them to my birthday. And so the cult members would ask, "Oh, how do you know Felix?" And he was like, "Yeah, we play pen and paper games." And they were like, "Oh, what is that?" "It's Dungeons and Dragons." And if you know anything about hardcore conservative Christians from or the doctrine, especially from the United States, there was, like, I think it was the 70s or 80s, they called it the Satanic Panic, where Dungeons and Dragons, pen and paper games, fantasy movies like came to be, and it was looked upon it like you know like at school, like teachers would say, "Oh, this is evil. They literally bring Satan into the classroom." They don't see it as a game. They think it's real because for some reason, I mean, playing a game is reality to them. But this is a whole other topic. Basically, I got into trouble when they found out that I would, play this game, and I had to kind of say, "Yeah, no, we play like uh, medieval stuff, not like with dragons and wizards. Like it's just medieval times." Yeah, that got me into some trouble. So I established a group of friends, and then I came across the subreddit for ex-Christians, and they know what you're going through. So that is one of the sources that I used, is that particular subreddit. And I posted a couple of questions like, what am I going to do? Should I you know it really feels like this out of the closet moment, like coming out for gay people. It kind of feels like that. Or how do I know? I don't know how it feels like for gay people. I mean, they were shunned and are still shunned in cultures far harder than atheists. But there are cultures where apostasy is also punishable by death. But yeah, coming out as an atheist was a big decision. I mean, I hadn't had it as bad as other people, where like your entire family is in the cult and you want to leave, and your whole family sees you as a rebel. Now, it, I'm glad I got the advice to do it. I could not live with myself. Like I played a role for a while. I stayed in the assembly for the sake of, I didn't know what else to do. And but after a few weeks I found out, now I cannot live this lie any longer. I have to tell them that I became an atheist and I want to leave the cult. And they first tried to talk me out of it, many meetings, like in person. And I said, no, you're just wasting your time. I made my decision. So then came the debates, yeah, what about this scripture and that scripture? And you had to be prepared for that. It's another thing. They will try to argue with you, and they will try to, talk you out of your beliefs. Like whatever you think, whatever makes you doubt God, you have to be prepared for that. So I prepared myself, and I told them what I didn't like. Um, and there were many things. Um, so they tried to talk me out of it. I told them, you're just wasting your time. And so then I left, and I was all by myself. I had no one to go to. But thank God, no pun intended, um, I had my friends and my family, and they were able to help me. You know, um, it was difficult at the beginning, obviously. Like it took some time for my family to understand. They had no idea like what it is like leaving something like that. And even the friends that that I had outside of the cult, they wouldn't know. So I talked to a couple of ex-cult members and on the subreddit, because it is it's hard to say. I mean, you've been in the cult or in my case, for 14 years. You lived a life for the church. You lived a life for God. You, um, you want to go to heaven, paradise, eternal life, all of that, and all of a sudden, boom, you have this void. The the weekly routines are no longer there. I mean, I knew that was going to happen, but when it actually happened, it felt horrible. All of that, I really missed um, the fellowship that I used to have. I missed the singing, the music, and just overall I mean, as long as you played by the rules, the friendships in the cult felt genuine. I mean, it is control, superficial love, if you will, but if you are a part of it, they're like your best friends. And imagine having like 10, 20 best friends. Like it's a great feeling. And now you live the hard life that most people live. Now you feel what it's like outside of it, and you know but it was very hard. It's a hard lesson to learn, but in the end I had to be true to myself. And that's when I also read a lot of philosophy stuff about the meaning of life and whatnot. Like, what is religion? Like, why do we even have religion in the world? And I really got into, like, to fill this void. I no longer have like religion. I did not like ex- you know exchange it with something else. I just wanted to educate myself. So I read lots of books to make up my mind, like what I want, who I was. And if there's one book that really helped me, it's it's this one from Richard Dawkins, The God Delusion. And many former Christians would point to this book. Um, it's not just for people that are against religion. He is talking about he's talking directly to Christians at many points. And as long as you have an open mind, uh, you will understand his arguments. And that's basically how I started to question the cult and its doctrines. Me getting into university and learning about science, that's how I basically lost my faith in God, uh, and uh, and yeah, got into evolution and whatnot. And the guy Richard Dawkins, he's a scientist, and there are also like many YouTube debates. I mean, on YouTube there are many debates with him and other pastors. And whenever he was asked, like, okay, so how could there be any meaning in your life without God? And he would answer something that helped me a lot in the beginning, because he said, um, I wrote it down here somewhere. Yeah, he said something like, uh, "You have to give it meaning. Family, hobbies, is a significant other. It can be anything, but it is up to you to give it some meaning." So, and that idea still means a lot to me. It basically tells me to make the best out of the time I that I have in this life, and you have to give it meaning. And I really like that idea. So then I got into the point of eh, yeah, to basically explore who I am, what I like. I lost that for 14 years, and now I can rediscover it, and it feels great. It's Imagine experiencing your adolescence again, like kind of like it feels kind of like that. I mean, I am older, obviously, but to rediscover, like with no shackles, like no one is going to judge me. I can explore, try out different things, and it feels awesome. So that's really good. But yeah, the first, don't get me wrong, like the first days felt very lonely. You have this void that you have to fill with something, and it's tough. 14 years is a very long time. Now, so what resources did I use? I basically used like critical thinking. That's the most important part, in my opinion. When you should always keep an open mind. My father used to teach me that, to always listen to the other side. So know that I was uh, a hardcore Christian, I would still listen to people who would not believe in God for whatever reason. I wouldn't force them to believe in God. Other people in the cult were like very straightforward. They would bash them over the head with the Bible and doctrines, but I found out very soon that you don't get anywhere with that. Like you annoy people the hell if you keep mentioning Jesus and like every opportunity. You will lose many friends like that. So I decided to, just listen to them, what they have to say. And, when they ask me something, if they want to know my opinion on something, I will tell them. So when I see them drinking a beer, I would not point a finger at them. Hey, by the way, Jesus wouldn't like you drinking beer. Like you would get very, you won't be invited to any occasions anymore if you keep doing that. So, um, keep an open mind, listen to other people, and that's what I did. And when I wanted to learn more about evolution, learn more about the other people's arguments, because I wanted to be prepared if people would ask me or have a debate with me, and that was basically the beginning of the end. That's that's how everything started. So that's one of the resources. Then, of course, that led to YouTube, and I will name a few channels. There's Thunderfoot, Aaron Ra, Logic, and Dark Matter. Um, hang on. Yeah, Dark Matter 2525. And those helped me a lot understanding brainwashing, understanding uh, arguments, and to point, because when you listen to those pastors, you get sucked into their logic, sucked into what they say, and you don't really recognize how they're manipulating your way of thinking. But you have to identify when they're trying when they try to present opinions as facts, or when they use straw man arguments, or go quote mining. There are these tactics, so to say, or Richard Dawkins mentioned them as well. Pascal's wager, like, if you have the opportunity to believe or not believe, like, you have everything to gain but nothing to lose, so therefore you should believe in God. But it's crap. Like, all of this is manipulation, and these channels talk about that a lot. Like, Thunderfoot has a great um, playlist. Why do people laugh at creationists? And he uh, talks about pastors that are well known in hardcore conservative Christians, especially in the United States, like Ken Ham, Kent Hovind, um, people like that. So we used to have like lots of material. We would watch like so many DVDs and material of those people. And Thunderfoot, he yeah, he debunks them basically. He's a scientist and gives you real empirical facts, and says how how they most of these pastors have no idea what they're talking about. When they use any sources, it's like shitty sources like Time Magazine or National Geographic, from journalists basically who themselves don't know what they're talking about. Like, we used to watch like a DVD about cancer, and in that documentary, it's like 10 hours long plus, and they would not ask one oncologist. Like, it's always journalists, or doctors from other fields of medicine, like dentists or something. But they would, like, if I were to make a documentary about cancer, the first people I would go to would be oncologists, and there was none of them, like not a single one. It's insane. Yeah, so you have this pseudoscience, people trying to sell you products, telling you, yeah, you should not go to a normal doctor, but here, take the supplements, that cost you $100 plus. If you get a subscription and you pay like 70 a month, then you get a 30% discount and you get all of these products. Pyramid schemes wherever, like left and right. It's crazy, and people are sucked into it because no critical thinking is allowed. If the pastor says it's good, it's good. Yeah, this absolutely disgusting. So yeah, you have these YouTube channels, and Aaron Ra has one, Hovind versus Ra. It's a debate where he's directly debating Kent Hovind, and Kent Hovind is another charlatan. Like, so much material, but all of it is just crap. He calls himself a doctor, but when I looked into his credentials, where he studied, I found out he studied at a uncredited university, which raises a big red flag because there are no standards in uncredited universities. Like you could get a degree in anything. You could get a degree in fortune telling, or you know picking your nose. So you basically you send them an X amount of money, hand in just some simple paper, and you get your degree, which is what Kenthoven did. I don't know how much money he paid for his degree, but yeah, when I know that if you call yourself a doctor, you can only do that if your dissertation is published. So you can do it yourself. If you have a local doctor you're going to and you want to know what he wrote his, you know, dissertation, what his dissertation is about, you can get in touch with the university the person studied at, and you can ask them for a copy of their dissertation, which is what I did. It took many attempts, but I finally got a hold of it, a PDF version of Dr. Kenthoven, and it's the funniest thing you'll ever read. If any like it's a disgrace for anyone, like to anyone who's ever like written a paper, or you know sixth grade plus. It's like there's no, I've never seen anything like that. Never. I mean, there is this book right here, um, the MLA Handbook for Writers of Research Papers. And when I hand in a paper at university, the professors, they will not even like actually read what I wrote. The first thing they look at are like basic standards, if I follow the rules. And yeah, Kenthoven had, like, it is all over the place. There's no rhyme or reason to his logic, his arguments. You read, he you cannot follow him throughout the whole and it's a paper. It's this is what I cannot understand. Like, if it's just an opinion, just, but no, it's his dissertation, for Christ's sake. What is wrong with that guy? And he calls himself a doctor, a professor, like every opportunity he gets. If it's just another pastor, talking, then I had no problem with that. But no, whenever he's on stage, he'd say, "No, I'm a doctor. I used to be a professor." Yeah, I'm sorry. If you do that, you should be prepared for people looking into your credentials, and they're crap. I brought that up in the church I was in, but they wouldn't listen to me. Like, so what? Doesn't matter. That was like X years ago. It's like it does. Man, they are so judgmental when it comes to judging people that don't believe in God. But when it comes to questioning people like that are Christians, pastors, like they they give a free pass to so many pastors. It's incredible. So yeah, the whole the whole you know house is just like falling apart. There was like nothing. The more I questioned the doctrine, the more I looked you know into this kind of stuff, like what are opinions and what are facts, the more I was able to distinguish them. It got worse and worse. So yeah, there's also Aaron Ra's playlist about the systematic classification of life, where he talks in depth about where we humans come from. It goes all the way down, the tree of life, if you will, from Homo sapiens to dinosaurs before that, down to all the way down to bacteria, and all the archaeological records, and how this proves evolution, how that proves evolution. It's great because I remember in church, so many people would talk about evolution, but had no idea what it actually is. And still to this day, many people, of course, we know evolution or we take it for granted. We don't actually know much about it, and it takes a lot of research to actually understand it. Because Christians would argue that you know um, never mind. I'm not going to debate this here. It's for another time. But safe to say that again, what was presented to me, the doctrine that was presented to me in the cult, after I watched this, after I read a lot about evolution, most of it was false. What I was given, they would say no, that was wrong, and they had the pastors in my church had no idea what they were talking about. And that's the main point that I'm trying to make here. If you claim something, give me good reasons. Don't give me opinions, and don't present your opinions as facts. Like, if you claim that, you should, if you debate with me, give me some sources, you know don't just come up with something and pull it right out of your ass, which is what they do. And it's really, it gets me really mad because I you know so how many people are being lied to, and I mean being lied to when it comes to that. They uh don't get me started. All right. Books. I already mentioned Richard Dawkins, The God Delusion, and there's also Christopher Hitchens. He's not very easy to understand. He can come across arrogant, but I think he's just being genuine. So it may not be easy for a strong believer to listen to him. But if you are open-minded, I can highly recommend it. I mean, um, so he has two books: God is Not Great and Letters to a Young Contrarian. And again, that just helped me with being critical, like to just keep a critical mind and question things. And then another philosopher, uh, René Descartes, and you may know him from basically the book is called Meditations on First Philosophy. And he's known for a quote, I think, therefore I am. That basically means you question everything and you start from the bottom. Basically, I think therefore I am, and then you start from there. Um, so like what do you know? You question everything. You think you know something, but you have to start from the very bottom, which is I think, therefore I know, I am, and from you start building from there. So yeah, very philosophical, but I like it. I enjoyed it. What else? Yeah, this one, um, from Jan Willem van Prooyen. He's from the Netherlands. The book was published in 2018, so it's rather new. The Psychology of Conspiracy Theories. And why is that one important? He's not talking about whether or not a conspiracy theory is right or wrong, but he's talking about it on like a scientific way. It's about neuropsychology, how our memory works, pattern recognition, the placebo effect, and that helped me to understand, because cult members would point to miracles, like, yeah, what about all the miracles that happen in your life? Like, how do you explain that? But when you understand how our brain works, then, magicians, illusionists, I mean, they do that all the time. When I do this, my thumb is not disappearing. It's an optical illusion. So I could. This is just one part. There are many things that are considered miracles, and I could explain all of them once I understood mathematics, um, chance, yeah, and the pattern recognition, especially in particular that one. You think there are patterns to something where there actually aren't, like things that are not really connected, which is again about like um, causality, and people would will put things to, they want to make sense of something, and they think, oh yeah, I snapped my finger and a lightning bolt hit the ground or something, and therefore it's connected, but it was just chance. Doesn't mean that every time I snap my finger, a lightning bolt will show up. To give you one example. But yeah, pattern recognition, memory, placebo effect, all of that helped me to explain the so-called miracles that I experienced. So yeah, all of that, those were the resources basically, and that all of that combined made me leave the cult. It is two things. You have the cult with their evil doctrine, the evil supreme leader, but then also the lack of belief. How further and further I questioned God, and so yeah, that's how I left. That's you know the from how I initially questioned them. There was no growing in numbers. We always stayed around 400 members. That kind of felt wrong to me. And then to us, laying hands on people with cancer, and none of them would be healed. All of them died. So I was thinking, oh, why would we keep praying for them and give them false hopes? So that was another thing. I never experienced like this super miraculous healing that everybody is talking about. Um, and then, of course, the not being allowed for critical thinking, and then where it reached the boiling point for me, where I I wanted to live my own life, no longer, um, you know, in I wanted to do what I want, and listen to the music I want to listen to, play the music I want to play, watch the movies I want to watch, be with friends that I want to be with. Uh, yeah, that's my story. And coming back to yeah, the a more positive note, what Richard Dawkins said: you should give your life meaning, or in this case, me. And it feels it's a nice idea. Okay, I hope you enjoyed this video. This is my story, very long video, but yeah, have a great day.